This is what's up. Love wins, y'all. Love wins.
Breaking news tonight, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul. His attorney tells CNN that he is currently being processed.
A music mogul who's climbed unbelievable heights and garnered a wave of success is now in a New York federal courtroom facing a life sentence. Welcome to S7N Celebrity True Crime. I'm Sanique. In this episode of the Rapper series, we'll profile Bad Boy founder Sean Diddy Combs. Sean Combs, aka Puff, Puffy, Puff Daddy, P Diddy, Love, Brother Love, was born on November 4th, 1969. Combs was born in Harlem, New York, and raised in Mount Vernon. Combs and his sister Keisha were brought up in the Catholic religion and attended Mount St. Michael Academy. His father, Melvin Combs, was a street hustler who was affiliated with drug kingpin Frank Lucas. He would meet his tragic demise when Combs was only 2 years old. Sean's mother, Janice Combs, worked as a model and teacher's assistant. However, close childhood friend Tim Dog Patterson would suggest that Janice Combs threw wild sex parties, which included drug use at her home when Combs was just a young boy, allegedly. Combs would frequent New York hip-hop and dance clubs and discovered his love of hip-hop culture. Combs became a hip-hop giant who founded one of the most prolific record labels in the world. Combs' roster featured a top-tier hip-hop lineup, including legend The Notorious B.I.G., Mace, Shine, Craig Mack, Black Rob, Loon, Young Jock, Boys in the Hood, French Montana, and Combs, who transformed into a successful artist himself. Bad Boy also made its mark in the R&B genre with Faith Evans, Cassie, Carl Thomas, and groups 112 and Total. Combs was instrumental in the Queen of Hip Hop Soul's Mary J. Blige's success, producing her classic album, What's the 411? The two have continued to collaborate over the years and have remained friends. Sean would also venture into TV, extended his Bad Boy brand, taking charge of creative and host to MTV's Making the Band. X-Spawn from his tenure included hip-hop group The Band, pop sensation Danity Kane, and R&B group Day 26. Combs also made his mark in the fashion world with Sean John. The apparel line was founded in 1998. Combs served as the CEO and president. The products included clothing, footwear, accessories, and fragrances. At its height, Sean John experienced revenues exceeding $525 million annually. As of 2016, the brand returned to annual retail sales of $450 million. Sean would often attend the CFDA Fashion Awards in New York. Sean John received 5 consecutive nominations for excellence in design from 2000 to 2005. Sean John was awarded the CFD Men's Designer Award of the Year in 2004. Sean John invested in famed designer Zac Posen in his early years. Sean John purchased the streetwear lifestyle brand Inichi from Liz Claiborne for $20 million in October 2008. However, at present day, he no longer has any ownership, any stake in Liz Claiborne. Combs also ventured into the restaurant business. Justin's, named after his oldest son, Combs had two locations, one in New York and one in Atlanta. The New York location closed in September 2007, and the Atlanta location closed in June 2012. Combs also ventured into the liquor arena when he entered a deal to help develop a vodka brand for 50% of the profits. Combs owned a major stake in the television network Revolt TV. Revolt also has a film production branch. He will sell off his stake in the company to its employees and CEO Devontae Samuels in June 2024. Combs also purchased a stake in Hydrate, a calorie-free beverage for athletes. Combs also became an investor in PlayVS, an infrastructure for competitive gaming. Combs fathered 7 children with 4 different women. He has son Justin with Misa Hilton, adopted son Quincy, biological kids son Christian, twin daughters Delilah and Jessie that he shares with the late Kim Porter. He shares a daughter with Sarah Chapman and a daughter with Dana Train. Sean Combs also engaged in a few high-profile love affairs, including a romance with actress performer Jennifer Lopez from 1999 to 2001, and an on and off relationship with singer Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie, from 2007 to 2018. Sean Combs, business mogul by day and party king into the night. Combs is known for partying. His luxurious all-white parties are legendary. A mixture of the biggest heavyweights attended. They ranged from music's biggest artists, Hollywood's biggest actors and actresses, top professional athletes, CEOs, and other executives, media personalities, and present and future politicians. It would be the activity that followed regular partygoers as they bidded their farewells that would land Combs into hot water. Sean Combs has had his fair share of controversy over the years. He's been called out concerning his unscrupulous business practices, cheating his artists out of royalties and publishing. He was heavily criticized for the City College of New York tragedy, where 9 people were crushed to death in an overcrowded stairwell when 5,000 people rushed to enter a gym that only could hold 2,730. The event was a celebrity basketball game promoted and organized by Sean Combs and the late rapper Heavy D. There were no criminal charges brought, but there were wrongful death and injury lawsuits filed in connection to the incident. Combs, along with Bad Boy Records rap artist Shine, was involved in a shooting in a nightclub. Combs' then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez was in attendance that night. They all 3 would be arrested. Shine would later be convicted of assault and unlawful possession of a weapon and be sentenced to 10 years in prison. Shine would later claim he was set up to take the fall for Combs. Victim Natania Rubin has made public claims that Sean Diddy Combs was indeed the one who shot her in the face during the 1999 shooting incident at Club New York in Manhattan. Rumors of Combs' involvement in the late great Tupac Shakur's murder and the setup of the notorious B.I.G.'s demise has run rampant for years. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who was charged and arrested for Shakur's murder, stated Combs offered him money to unalive Shakur and Mogul Suge Knight. Davis is now awaiting trial, and it should start February 9th, 2026. Shakur's family hired an attorney to investigate any possible links to Combs. Big Gene Deal, former bodyguard for Combs, stated he thought it was odd to have Big in LA so soon after Shakur's unaliving. Tensions were high. Big's Life After Death album dropped, and he was in LA for promotion. However, Deal didn't think it was a good idea for Big to go to the Vibe magazine party. It would be leaving that party that the notorious B.I.G. would lose his life. These are rumors and allegations only. Sean Combs has not been linked by any credible evidence to either case. He has not been criminally charged or convicted in a court of law in any of the aforementioned incidents. Losing Pac and Big was detrimental to hip hop, to the culture. Losing Pac was like losing my favorite cousin. I miss him still to this day. B.I.G., Pac, the best to ever do it. May they continue to rest in peace, paradise, and power. Combs has been accused of various physical assaults against women and men. He has been accused of an array of sexual assaults as well. Combs had been able to minimize such rumors, equating them to nonsense. However, it would be the civil lawsuit filed by ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie, that would send his very world into a tailspin. When Combs met Cassandra Ventura, she was a mere 19 years old. Combs was 37, almost 2 decades her senior. Combs would use his position as the head of her record label, power, and prestige to lure the young Ventura into a personal relationship. On November 16, 2023, Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie, filed a 35-page civil lawsuit against ex-boyfriend Sean Combs. The lawsuit would contain disturbing accounts of physical and sexual abuse that spanned over a 10-year period. Cassie accused Combs of several brutal beatings, rape, and forcing her to engage in sexual acts with paid sex workers and film performances called freak-offs. Ventura also alleged that Combs blew up a man's vehicle. Cassie had a brief relationship with rapper Kid Cudi during one of Combs and Ventura's downtime. Combs discovered the relationship and became enraged. According to Kid Cudi's representatives, it was confirmed that the incident had occurred. Kid Cudi's car blew up in his driveway. Details of this incident, among kidnapping and arson allegations, are detailed in the memo filed with the New York judge Robin Tefkowski. Ventura stated Combs banished a firearm, running out of his apartment in pursuit of a rival industry executive who was nearby. Ventura stated Combs forced her to carry his firearms in her purse to intimidate her. Ventura also accused Combs of providing drugs, alcohol, to exact full control over her personal and professional life. He also required her to secure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own drug dependency. The public had become accustomed to hearing rumors concerning Combs, but the lawsuit would expose the true darkness of the rap mogul. Combs settled the lawsuit with Ventura the very next day, leaving the public stunned and believing his guilt. However, Combs put up a brave front and continued to deny all allegations against him. The denial continued until a videotape of Combs brutally attacking Ventura surfaced. CNN recovered and published a shocking video that would leave the world gasping. In March 2016, Combs can be seen attacking Ventura at a LA hotel. The attack is detailed in the civil lawsuit she filed against Combs in November 2023.
A Los Angeles hotel in March 2016. A lawsuit filed by Ventura in November last year and settled the next day referenced actions that seem to match those seen in this video. There is no audio. According to the complaint, Combs became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye, which, according to the lawsuit, prompted Ventura to try and leave the hotel room. The surveillance video obtained by CNN begins as she enters the hallway. The complaint says as she exited, Mr. Combs awoke and began screaming at Miss Ventura. He followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. The complaint goes on to say he grabbed her and then took glass vases in the hallway and threw them at her. In the surveillance video, Combs can be seen grabbing Ventura and throwing her to the ground. As Ventura lies on the ground, Combs then kicks her twice and attempts to drag her on the floor back to the hotel room. Ventura is seen picking up a hotel phone. Combs seems to walk back to the hotel room, then returns and appears to shove her in a corner. Moments later, he can be seen throwing an object in her direction.
After the circulation of the video, Combs would finally fess up and record an explanation for his actions in the form of an apology.
No excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
This become too little, too late. Combs would feel the backlash as he loses several business ventures and disassociations with brands he's worked with for years. Combs was dropped by Capital Preparatory Harlem, Empower Global Business. Hulu dropped his Diddy plus 7 reality TV show. Combs was unlisted from his talent agency, removed from Revolt TV as of March 26, 2024. Peloton banned his bad boy music from use. Howard University revoked Combs' 2014 honorary degree. The city of New York rescinded the key to the city. Macy's quietly removed Sean John's clothing line from its stores. Diddy Day in Miami Beach has been canceled indefinitely. Combs and Diageo would part ways after the lawsuit Combs filed against them. He would no longer be the face of Ciroc. Ventura's civil lawsuit would also lay the groundwork for Sean Combs to face criminal accountability for a decade of abuse. Her lawsuit would also open a floodgate to many more civil lawsuits and allegations against Combs, including a lawsuit filed by Little Rod Jones, who detailed even more disturbing abuse by Sean Diddy Combs. Little Rod Jones is a songwriter, musician, and music producer. He was commissioned to work with Sean Combs on his Love album. Lil Rod stated Combs subjected him to a slew of unwanted sexual advances. Jones stated he was touched inappropriately, groped, and forced into unwanted sexual encounters. Jones stated he was forced into securing sex workers for freak-offs. Lil Rod Jones claimed Sean Diddy Combs engaged in drug use, including cocaine, ecstasy, and GBH. Jones claimed Combs drugged underage sex workers by lacing their drinks. Jones claimed Combs threatened and intimidated him to keep quiet. Jones also claimed he wasn't compensated properly for the work done on Combs' Love album. Some of the civil lawsuit Jones brought against Combs has been dismissed. A judge dismissed the racketeering RICO charge, breach of contract, and intention to inflict emotional distress. The judge did permit the sexual assault and premises liability claims to proceed to trial. The judge presiding over the case wasn't happy with Lil Rod's attorney's behavior, and he was criticized during some of the proceedings. Combs claims the accusations are baseless, and Lil Rod's attempt to defame him and it's a money grab. On March 25th, 2024, Sean Combs' homes in Los Angeles, California, and Miami, Florida were raided by U.S. Homeland Security as part of an ongoing federal investigation into Combs' alleged criminal enterprises. In the searches, various items were found, including narcotics, videotapes of freak-off escapades, and a whopping 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend Misa Hilton posted a compilation of short scenes from a raid inside the rapper's Los Angeles home. A law enforcement source told CNN the raid was connected to an ongoing sex trafficking investigation. Hilton uploaded the heavily edited footage on Instagram on April 3rd, criticising the, quote, overtly militarised force used against her son Justin and Combs' other son Christian, who were at the home when it was raided. A senior federal law enforcement official told CNN heavily armed teams from Homeland Security Investigations searched Combs' homes in part because it was believed there were armed private security at each of his residences. No criminal charges have been filed.
From the findings of the investigation, Sean Combs was indicted in federal court on 3 criminal counts of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Sean Diddy Combs was arrested September 16, 2024, at a Manhattan hotel in New York City. He was arrested based on a sealed indictment, and the charges were unsealed the following day. The charges included racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution.
Now to Sean Diddy Combs' investigation. New surveillance video shows Combs being taken into custody in a Manhattan hotel last week. Our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Kotursky, is at the scene of his arrest. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, Robin. This is the hotel where Sean Combs was arrested a week ago. You can now see how that arrest went down. This morning, watch how federal agents took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs. His lawyer said Combs had come to New York 2 weeks earlier with the intention of turning himself in. He did not expect the agents to be waiting at his hotel last Monday night.
Here is an overview of the charges that Sean Diddy Combs is fighting. Count 1, racketeering conspiracy. A grand jury charged Sean Combs with decades of abuse, threatening, coercing women and others in his circle to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and to conceal his conduct. Combs used employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he headed and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise that's members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Combs engaged in persistent and persuasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals. The abuse consisted of verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. On numerous occasions, from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. These assaults were, at times, witnessed by others, and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. A member of the hotel staff intervened. Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Combs' violence also extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. Combs used employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates acted as Combs' intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs. Combs and other members of Combs Enterprises lured women into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Combs would pleasure himself during and often electronically record the acts, sometimes unbeknownst to the victims. Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from physical exertions and drug use. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Victim 1. A grand jury charged that from at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2018, Combs in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person, knowing in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion. Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained a person, victim 1, and attempted, aided and abetted, and willfully caused victim 1 to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that victim 1 was engaging in commercial sex acts, a result of force, fraud, and coercion. Count 3. Transportation to engage in prostitution. The grand jury charges from at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2024 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. Sean Combs knowingly transported an individual in state and foreign commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution, and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the same to it. Combs transported, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the transportation of female victims and commercial sex workers in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in prostitution. Forfeiture allegations. Combs has also been ordered to forfeit to the United States any and all property, real and personal, involved in, used, or intended to be used to commit or to facilitate the commission of said offense, and any and all property traceable to such property, any and all property, real and personal, constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of said offense, including but not limited to a sum of money in United States currency representing the amount of property involved in said offense, and proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. The forfeitures are pursuant to Title 18, United States Code, Section 981, which reads, "The following property is subject to forfeiture to the United States. Any property, real or personal, involved in a transaction or attempted transaction in violation of Section 1956, 1957, or 1960 of this title, or any property traceable to such properties." Section 1594. This statute penalizes attempts to violate specified sections of Chapter 77, including sections 1589 and 1991. The most commonly charged trafficking statutes. A final judgment or decree rendered in favor of the United States in any criminal court proceeding brought by the United States under this chapter will exceed the defendant from denying the essential allegations of the criminal offense in any subsequent civil proceeding brought by the United States. So in other words, they're going to take all your property. They're going to take your money. They're going to take your property. If they can prove that you were involved in illegal activity and making money from it, when they file charges against you, they will definitely get any kind of monetary benefits that you've accumulated. And this goes hand in hand with people or organizations that's been charged with a RICO. And that's what Diddy's been charged with. He has a RICO charge. The Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, was created in 1970 to combat organized crime, specifically the mafia, and their infiltration of legitimate businesses. So police, law enforcement, they had to create a tool that was going to be useful for them to actually target a whole organization. The mafia, the mob, their whole dynamic, their whole structure was very complicated. It was complex. It was sophisticated, and it was hard for them to get a grasp on how to exactly go by investigating them, infiltrating them. If they focus on one person, they may get enough to take them down, but then there's somebody that's coming right behind them. And the organization is so big that it was just almost impossible to focus and horn down. But when they came up with the RICO, they were able to charge many people under that charge. And we've seen that yes, the RICO was created for the mob and the mafia. However, they are now using that charge against any group of people that's organized in committing crimes and benefiting monetarily from those crimes. We've even seen some famous rappers charged with RICOs. Young Thug with YSL, Lil Durk. He's incarcerated right now with a connection with Unalive and for Hire. Rapper Casanova, he was also indicted, charged, and convicted on a RICO and received 15 years in prison because of affiliation with his gang, his blood gang, Untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation. So, and along with himself and 17 more members were indicted, charged, and convicted under the RICO. Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, he's facing potential a life sentence if he's convicted of all these crimes that he's been charged with. Racketeering, conspiracy. This charge carries a maximum of life in prison. Sex trafficking. Combs faces 2 counts of that and is 15 years minimum. Transportation for purpose of prostitution is 2 counts, and those carry 10 years maximum. I'm sure this is sobering for him, and as the days go on, the trial continues, he's realizing he is facing life. He is facing never being free again. Tune in for more updates as we follow the Sean Combs trial. I'll be back with full breakdowns of pre-trial jury selection, week 1 testimony, and week 2 testimony. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any new uploads. Take care of yourself and each other.